Welcome to Discover Truth Bite-Sized. Today our Bible reading is taken from Acts chapter 25, and we find the reading in verse number 7. And when he was come, the Jews which had came down from Jerusalem stood round about, and laid many and grievous complaints against Paul, which they could not prove. You see, the Jews were at it again. If they couldn't get Paul by fair means, they were going to try and get him by foul. You see, Festus was now on the scene, and Festus had travelled up to Jerusalem. And there the Jewish leaders had said, "Look, will you send Paul from Caesarea up to our city? Let us judge him here in the Sanhedrin." But this was all part of their plan. You see, they had wanted to lay a trap so that as Paul was being brought up to Jerusalem, they'd be lying in wait, and there they would take his life. They'd put him to death. Festus wasn't for having it. He said, "If you've got accusation against this man, come down to Caesarea, stand in my court, and level your accusations against him." So that's what they done. They came down to Caesarea, and there in that court they levelled a batch of lies against Paul. None of those things could be proved because they were falsehoods. The first thing which they said against him was that he had allegedly been breaking the laws of Israel, and therefore he should stand trial in the Sanhedrin. Well, Rome didn't acknowledge that location. They didn't acknowledge the Sanhedrin, so they weren't prepared to send him up on those grounds. The second law was that they said that he had profaned the temple by taking Gentiles beyond the outer court, taking Gentiles into places where they weren't permitted to go, and therefore in breach of the Mosaic law, that they were to be put to death. It was a death offence. The third accusation was that he taught that there was another king other than Nero. But really, Paul's teaching was that the Lord Jesus Christ, he is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Not someone looking to take a throne here on planet Earth, but to rule from the heavens, to rule from glory. No, God was in control. God was looking after Paul. He was a man who was beyond reproach. Everything he done was done decently and in order. He never lied, he never cheated, he never broke the laws, he never broke the rules. He done what was correct. He lived his life in obedience to God. He was a man who was seen as righteous. Here, as he stood before Festus and against these accusers, there was nobody who could prove any of those allegations. There was no proof. I wonder, can it be said about you that you're above reproof? That you're honest, that you're obedient, that you're faithful, and that you're righteous? Are you living your life according to the will of God and according to his word, just as Paul was?